Hey, this video is the Aries child, okay? So Aries is cardinal fire, first sign of the zodiac, the sign of self. So when you're thinking of Aries energy children, these children are kind of fearless. They aren't afraid to be the first to do something. They might be willing to volunteer to do something first. They aren't afraid to try something again sometimes. But at the same time, Aries energy, because they are so fearless, some can be apt to have some accidents, or like little kid accidents, but like like small stuff, like they bruise their knee or they fall off a tree or something, because they have that energy and they just aren't like, they don't have that same fear that other signs might have, and like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I should think about it, because they just want to adventure. They want to have adventure. The sign of self, so you think of it like the infant. First sign of the zodiac is like the baby, the newborn, where they're new to everything, and so there isn't this fear, there isn't this restriction that other signs might have, because they want to explore, they want to touch, they want to see, they want to just see what everything has to offer. So Aries children can sometimes come across as very confident. What they have to learn, what you have to teach them, is how to also care about how other people are affected by what they're doing. So because it's a sign of self, sometimes the Aries energy doesn't think of how other things affect other people, and this is especially prominent in childhood when you are learning all of these different skills. And if you aren't, a lot of kids can be really selfish and self-centered, but as an Aries kid, that's even more pronounced, because they're trying to explore for themselves. And so sometimes there's this lack of foresight of like, well, how do you think what happened affected other people? So your job is, if you're a parent or caregiver, is to teach them how to see how their actions affect others, because their opposite sign is Libra, which is a sign of partnership, where they understand to consider other people's feelings. Aries can also be very outspoken, and this is a good trait to have when it comes to standing up for yourself. It's a good trait to have. But on the flip side, Aries can become so outspoken that they say things that don't need to be said. And so sometimes there's a lack of a filter. It's kind of like Sagittarius, but Sagittarius has to usually be provoked, or something has to, stir inside of them for them to say something. Sometimes Aries doesn't have that filter, and they literally will say what's on their mind. Right? And sometimes it's just teaching them like when to say things or when to not say things at all. Aries also, the child needs to learn structure. Okay. So while they have this great likelihood of being leaders, they can be leaders when they channel their energy positively, because they know it needs to be done. They know something has to get done. They aren't afraid to say, hey, I'll do it. I'll do this because this needs to get done. So some of them can really be really effective leaders in teams, in school, because they are the energy to get things started. They aren't reserved as much. Some of them can be, depends on other placements. And so the Aries child is usually full of energy. They're full of wonder. They want to go, 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 go. They also can be a little impatient, some of them. They could be impatient if people don't move as fast as they do. They can get really frustrated. Another thing about Aries children, they can hold grudges a lot. And I feel like with Aries, it's almost like they can't get themselves out of how they feel, even though they're not in a water sign at all, but they love passionately, and they can hate passionately or dislike passionately too. So it's like sometimes Aries children, like some kids can just bounce back from a setback. Aries has a difficult time doing that. Remember, it's the infant of the zodiac. It is still learning how to conduct itself. It's still learning how to handle certain things. And so you'll see that a lot in Aries energy children, where like they lack that ability to do those things. Okay. But again, like I feel like, teaching them structure is very important. Because life is about adventure, sometimes there can be a lack of responsibility. And so really teaching them how to be responsible, really teaching them how to, keep track of things, do their chores, do their homework, things like that is really important for the Aries energy child. I think, but, another thing that's really interesting as well, even though they sometimes can like land on their feet, because they aren't going to sit back and keep failing at something. They're just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And so in some Aries people, there's a sense of resilience there. You know, it's like the kid who, you know, falls and then they get back up and then they get back up because they just want to keep going and they just have an adventure. And so for some of these Aries kids, I don't think the grudge lasts very long, but in the moment it does. It's very hard. They have to learn how to reset back and not like shut down, because sometimes they can just become so upset. It's almost like, again, the infant didn't get its way, so now I'm mad and I'm not gonna, you know. So it's about teaching them those things as well. But if you channel their energy correctly, these can be the leaders. And if it's an Aries kid who has other elements in their chart that make them more responsible, then you're going to have a really well-rounded Aries kid who knows how to stand up for themselves, who can be a leader, and who kind of has this fearlessness about how to navigate life, and this lack of reserve, not really reserved, not really, you know, apprehensive, just kind of has this very entrepreneurial spirit of like, let me try this, let me get something done, you know, things can be accomplished, things can move forward type of thing that, you know, is in adulthood. If you have those traits, that'll be really, you know, positive. All right, so that is it for the Aries child. Hope you like this video.